Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? The title is The King Dolla Skillz. I got my brother on the phone, and we finna talk some. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. We ain't talked in a long time. Welcome back to the show. Now that we have elected Donald Trump, we don't have to deal with that politics, but we got to go through the political landmines to make it to office.
No doubt. And I'm not going to give away all the Jews. We're going to speak about some of the things because I definitely want to make sure you preserve your platform. So what I want to do is just say that I was watching some of your previous show and some of the topics y'all were talking about as it relates to Kamala and how the election went. I just want to add some insight, and I'm gonna say it like this. Um, I have relatives, as most people do. Everybody's probably got one, but I've got two relatives that's in the military, and I can say who those relatives are without saying their names. Both of my uncles are in military. One is in military intelligence. The other one was in the Gulf War. So what people got to understand is this is a military operation going on here. This is bigger than the RICO as it relates to what we've been witnessing, all of us, in the back and forth with Trump, the Republicans, and the Democrats. Well, we got to go back to the beginning when Trump won in 2016 and how that was done. I think I did call in the other day and kind of gave a little insight that Donald Trump in the 2016 election did not win the popular vote. The way he won the election was through the Electoral College. People could do their research on how the popular vote is not the final deciding factor of the presidency. It's based on representatives in the various states. It's known as the Electoral College. And based on how many people vote within those different districts, they have electorates that make the final decision. And the electorates generally do like to make the decision that the popular vote does because it looks good politically. But there have been many times where the Electoral College has been used to bypass the popular vote. 2016 was one of those times. That's the reason why a lot of people were in shock when Trump was able to take the White House in 2016 and they started moving against his presidency. Now, I laid that foundation so that I could break down what happened when Trump won the presidency. Because all of this information, just so everybody listening is aware, what I'm saying, you can go do your own research and fact check what I'm saying in regards to the various federal cases that were brought against individuals like Hillary Clinton for what transpired when Trump came into the White House officially. And what that was when Trump came in the White House, he sat down, obviously, with a transition team that involved Barack Obama and his former cabinet administrators to get whatever information that he could get now that he was the new president. I'm talking 2016. Now, in the process of that happening, what Barack did was he went through the Five Eyes, and we had spoke about the Five Eyes law enforcement group on your other channel at one point. The Five Eyes consist of Australia, I think Canada, the UK, the United States, and if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong here, I think the fifth is New Zealand, but 5 countries agreed to utilize their intelligence gathering agencies and come together and work together to take down cartels, international pedophilia, everything under the sun. They're called the Five Eyes Law Enforcement Group. Now, what happened with Trump when he came in 2016 is Barack went around the United States and went to a foreign country and had them plant bugs in the Trump Tower and in the White House. Now, when Trump comes into the office, his counterintelligence must have found out that he was bugged. He was made aware that he was bugged. And then they started to move their counterintelligence to maneuver around what was getting ready to happen. And what was getting ready to happen was that Hillary Clinton was going to use a law firm. The law firm is called Perkins Cooley. And let me explain this again so that I'm not just up here. This is not conspiracy. If anybody wants to do research into what I'm talking about, you would have to look up John Durham, the John Durham report. And John Durham was a special counsel that was appointed by Trump when he was in office to investigate what had went on in regards to the actual selling of phony dossier or the creating of a false dossier. I think everybody has heard of in different shows speak about how the FBI has dossiers on everybody in the conscious community. Well, that term dossier was something that Hillary Clinton was caught purchasing from a foreign intelligence firm by the name of Igor Danchenko. He has ties to Russia, and what they did was they had them put together a phony story that Trump was involved with pedophilic acts with underage girls in a Russian hotel. Now, that is what led to the first impeachment of Donald Trump. That, as well as a telephone call that he made with the Ukrainian leader involving Joe Biden and his son and certain business deals that was done with the Ukraine during the Obama administration that could be looked at as treasonous as it relates to U.S. trade secrets and how they will be insulated with cash to sell more classified documents. Now, at that time, Joe Biden was the vice president. He did not have the clearance that the president, who Barack Obama was at that time, to access that classified data itself. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I thought there was something you was trying to add. So, basically, when Trump comes into the White House in 2016, he took it by the Electoral College. He bypassed the popular vote. It really blocked the Democratic Party because prior to Trump becoming president, what we see now with the open borders, they were slowly bringing in people to vote Democrat all throughout the 8 years of Barack Obama's presidency. So people who may argue, well, Trump didn't win the popular vote. He didn't win the popular vote in 2016 because they had so many illegals to actually have Hillary still win the popular vote. Even though technically, when you look at Donald Trump with the apprentices, Donald Trump has been popular pretty much all my life, all our lives. He's always been popular. So when he ran for president, there was a huge chance that he could have won the popular vote, but there was no way he could have won the popular vote with the amount of illegals that the Obama administration brought in. So back to my point. So now he takes the Electoral College. He screws them because what they feared is that because he's quote unquote not a part of their establishment, when he became the president, that would give him the clearance to see all the classified documents that every president, from Obama to the Bushes to the Clintons, he had access to all of that documentation to see how they've been running our government for the last 20, 35 years prior to him. That's why they didn't technically want him in, because he wasn't part of it, and then he would be able to see things and do things. So they lied to foreign intelligence in order to get a wiretap in the Trump Plaza in New York City and in the White House, in the Oval Office. So now they're spying on his presidency using intelligence agencies that were activated by Barack Obama and various members of his cabinet. I'll give you guys the actual point. There was a meeting in the White House, you could all go research this, when Trump came into the office, that was had with Barack Obama right before he was transitioning in with Susan Rice and various of his cabinet members. This is when they're saying that they formulated the plan to come after Trump. So now Trump comes in, Hillary Clinton goes, purchases this phony dossier from Igor Danchenko, a Russian operative that ties to the federal government here and to Russia, lie on Trump, say that he's part of the pedophilic network, and then try to impeach him. That failed. Okay, so the first impeachment of Donald Trump, it went to before the House and the Senate. They voted not to impeach him. He got to stay in office. But that whole situation of them spying on his campaign was still a major issue. So he went and got the special counsel, John Durham, to do a full investigation on everything that happened. And if you guys want to go look up the federal case docket or whatever on the John Durham report, back in, I think, 2022 was when he completed his investigation and laid out everything that Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, had did. Let me add this, because the Democratic Party also committed a high crime by saying that they were hacked by the Russians. The Democratic National Convention computers were said to have been hacked by Russia. And then they try to link all of that to Trump and say that he's working for Putin. The Russians interfered with the 2016 election and that they had hacked the DNC. All of that was found to be not true when John Durham did his report and completed everything. That the Democrats hacked their own election system and tried to put it on Russia in order to use the mainstream media to push a narrative and have the American people believe that Trump is a Russian political operative. None of that was true. So now we move on into the first presidency of Donald Trump. The second thing they did now was it involves the COVID. I'm not going to say too much about that because I want to make sure you maintain your platform. But what I'll say is a lot of people believe that the COVID was used politically out of the lab in China in order to manipulate the 2020 election. And this is why Donald Trump ultimately wasn't able to secure that election. Because what happened with the COVID, whether one believes that that was done by the Democrats or not, what happened with COVID was it allowed them to change the laws in all the states. And to change the laws, what I mean is on election day in 2020, they set it up to where people didn't have to vote in person. They could now use the mail-in vote. So based on that mail-in vote, we all of us witnessed something we've never technically seen before, which is election day turned into election week. This election that we just had was pretty much decided. They knew who won on election day. By the end of the night, it was Trump won. In 2020, it was different. It was Trump was up, but then all of a sudden, all kind of anomalies started happening. A water main break in the Georgia election center, all kind of things. And then they used all of these smoke screens to push the election out so that they could get enough balance to overturn Trump's popular vote. Because Trump is, in my opinion, won the popular vote in 2020. The reason why he didn't technically win overall was what I just said, because the COVID allowed them to change the laws, bring everything to mail-in voting, and all they had to do in 2020 was to see how many votes Trump had and then realize how many ballots they had to stuff in the machine in order to have Joe win. So that's one thing that they did. The other thing that they did as it relates to Joe Biden winning is that now when Joe came in, that was Barack coming back in. Barack is one of the only presidents, to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but I think I'm correct. Every president that comes out of the White House, they leave D.C. They go back to their home state or they go home. Barack Obama is the only president that when he lost the election, he set up shop right in D.C. down the block from the White House. He's been there ever since. So Trump's whole first presidency was really manipulated by everything that Barack Obama and his previous cabinet was doing. That involves Trump selecting certain people in his cabinet that he thought were qualified for the job, but were part of previous administrations, and they began to sabotage his entire first 4 years. So now we got 2020, the COVID drops. They basically, in my opinion, stole that election. Trump knew it, but what people don't understand that happened with Trump at that point, Trump has been the commander-in-chief for the United States for this entire time. Now, when I say that, people have heard this before. I'm going to make it clear. When you hear about presidents, you hear that they are the duly elected president, meaning there's two things happening at once. Why do they say duly elected president? Well, on the general public side, one would look at that and say, well, he was elected by the popular vote and he was selected by the electoral college. The two things you need. That's two duly elected. But in law, duly elected means that he's the president of the United States, but he's also the commander-in-chief of the military. And I'm going to bring it home because remember I said in the beginning of this is a military sting operation that involves treason, sedition, and insurrection, which took place on January 6, 2020. So this is above the RICO. When you're talking RICO, you're talking about U.S. political gangs. When you're talking about treason and sedition, that means that there's foreign actors that's involved with the crime that's being committed, and it's being committed by people who are supposedly citizens of America or even dual citizens working with foreign governments to try to overthrow the United States government, which is treason and sedition. You can go look up the term treason and sedition in all of you guys' leisure, and then understand insurrection, and then you'll see how this has been way bigger than the RICO. So now we got Trump, who's not the president because he lost the 2020 election by votes, by ballots. But at that time, when they did January 6th, an operation took place. A lot of people know that it has been alleged that the FBI, the CIA, and various intelligence agencies were on the ground on January 6th, and they kicked off the riots that started. They had provocateurs. One of them, your platform spoke about, his name is Ray Epps. Ray Epps was known to be an FBI informant. He was on video the day before the actual January 6th protest, going around the crowd and telling people we need to storm the Capitol. And people were like, Fed, this guy's a federal agent. We're not storming the Capitol. We're only here to peacefully protest the actual certification of the 2020 election. Have the vice president, which was Mike Pence at the time, send those certifications back to the state and have them investigate what took place with all of the fraudulent anomalies that happened election night and all of the days leading into Joe officially securing more ballots or votes than Trump. So that's what January 6th, it was all legal and lawful. At that time, the vice president had the ability to stop the certification of the election, return the actual certifications back to whatever states that the people had issues with, and have them do a full, thorough investigation before certifying the election. Obviously, we all know what happened January 6th. That didn't happen because there was a political uproar on the grounds of the Capitol. People pushed into the Capitol. But what Trump and the Republicans have been arguing for the last 4 years is that was kicked off by the CIA and the FBI, who have been infiltrated from within. Our country has been hijacked by people that want to destroy this country from the inside out, and along with foreign actors. So let me give you a little breakdown on that so you understand where I'm coming from as it relates to January 6th. Trump offered the Speaker of the House, who at the time was Nancy Pelosi, and the actual governor of D.C., her name is Miriam Bowser, if I'm not mistaken. He offered them to have the National Guard at the January 6th protest. But because the Speaker of the House, who is in charge of the Capitol, and the D.C. mayor, who is in charge of D.C., declined to have the National Guard here, this is what allowed them to infiltrate that protest with agent provocateurs, FBI informants, CIA operatives, and then have the people pushed into the Capitol. There's a lot of videos that show that the D.C. police shot tear gas, and if you're in a huge crowd of people and you got tear gas being shot behind you, it ain't nothing else for you to do but to push into the Capitol. So you had Ray Epps. He was found also on video that day at the front of the line. So he was there the day before, walking around the crowd, telling everybody, tomorrow we got to storm the Capitol. People pointed him out and said he's a Fed. Then on the day of the actual protest on January 6th, there's footage of him right on the front line pushing into the Capitol. But what I'm showing is that they pushed the people in the Capitol because the D.C. police was firing tear gas that pushed the people in the Capitol. So now I'm saying all of this. I know I'm being long-winded, but I gotta bring it home so it clicks what I'm saying. When Trump was rushed away from the Capitol on January 6th because of the violence that started to kick off, he went back to his location, and it took a few hours, but he gave an actual statement that he told everyone to go home peacefully. He even, when he was telling them to go to the Capitol, said, let's all go down to the Capitol peacefully, have Mike Pence in the House, put the certification on the table, and return the certification to the states, because there's a lot of fraud that took place in the 2020 election, and we want to get to the bottom of it. They kick off the insurrection. Trump gets forced away from the insurrection that took place by the Secret Service. He then gets the scruples together. He issues a statement and tells everyone to go home peacefully. When he did that, what actually happened was he enacted the Insurrection Act. He put the insurrection on them, because what people don't understand about law in the Insurrection Act, the only person that can actually put an insurrection is a sitting president. Even though they were certifying the election, Joe wasn't the president yet. The election hadn't been certified. So when the actual riot started at the Capitol, and Trump, who was still president, said go home peacefully, and they didn't go home peacefully, you know what happened? What I was telling you earlier, that duly elected president got split because Trump maintained the commander-in-chief position, though Joe Biden was the president for the last 4 years. It's a duly elected president. There's two roles that the president plays. One is the commander over the military. Two is the president over the United States. When Joe won the presidency, he was president, but he didn't have the dual role as the commander-in-chief. And if people don't believe that, I'm going to give you a key for you to go back and look right now. You can look at when President inaugurated. Every single president, including Donald Trump, when he won in 2016, had a certain amount of cannons that was let off. When Joe was brought in, he didn't have the same amount of cannons. But the general public doesn't understand military law, so they wasn't understanding what the military was showing by bringing Biden as president. But
hello? Hello? Dollar.
I hear you clearly.
All right, well,
you
broke up. You broke up.
Okay, I don't know what part, so I'll run it back.
You was explaining what happened when they shoot the cannons and do a presidency.
Okay, so if you all go back and look back at the inauguration of Joe Biden as compared to Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, you will notice the cannons are different. How many cannons they let off. That was the military letting it be known that we're bringing Joe in as the president, but there's a problem going on, and he's not a dual president. He's not the commander-in-chief. Trump maintained that position. He maintained that position because on January 6th, he's the one that activated the Insurrection Act, because he was the sitting president before the certification. The riots kicked off, and if you go look in the law on what the president's duty is when he is announcing an insurrection, he did it. He told everybody to go home peacefully. He knew that the FBI, the CIA, and all of the agent provocateurs that kicked off that riot wasn't going to do that. When they didn't do that, that activated the Insurrection Act of, I think, 1917. That allowed President Trump, and as the commander-in-chief at that time in 2020, to hand over certain things to the military and not give it to Joe Biden. Joe Biden was elected president, but not the duly elected president. So now when Joe comes in, I'll give you an example. He doesn't have access to the nuclear code. You know why? Because America was attacked in 2020. I have to add this piece to how they stole, in my opinion, the election of 2020, because they also hacked the election systems from a foreign country and they got caught. Now, if you guys want to get information on this, I'll give you a tidbit. Go look up, her name is Maria Zack. Maria Zack spoke on the floor of a specific state. I can't think of it. She brought all of the information and data that they put from foreign countries actually messing with the tabulation machines on election night in 2020, and people that were voting for Trump, their votes were getting flipped in the machine to Biden. They laid all of this information out on the American public. But because of the fact that Joe was now in power, what they had to do was go after Trump, claim that he was the insurrectionist, and then claim that he stole classified data. And everybody knows that they raided Mar-a-Lago later in 2022, claiming that Trump had stole documentation from the presidency that he didn't have a right to, and he didn't give it back. Now, I have to say this because I'm going to bring it all home to 2024 and what we're witnessing right now. What people don't realize that Trump did is because the Democratic Party controls most of the major news media outlets, CNBC, NBC, and they had the bullhorn for 4 years, claiming he's an insurrectionist. He stole classified documents. The other side was breaking down how, no, what Trump did when he was president was he declassified documents. And when I say declassified documents, he declassified information that he had the ability in the 2016 to 2020 presidency that exposes everything that they did. This includes the Epstein Island thing. This includes what we see with Diddy. But on a bigger note, it includes that the former president, Barack Obama, was selling uranium on the black market to some of our foreign adversaries in order to kick off a war that America loses, so that they can get rid of the United States Constitution once and for all by having a foreign government attack us. So Trump, he declassified all of that information. Now, what people have to understand about declassification is when a president declassifies documents, it is written in the law that it takes 5 years for it to be available to the public. So Trump, on the way out in 2020, realized he wasn't going to be able to flip the election back and take the presidency. He split as the commander-in-chief. He said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to declassify all of the documents. This is 2020. Those documents, declassification is going to be available for public consumption now in 2024. So for the last 4 years, we've been witnessing them trying to get Trump, because Trump not only charged them with the RICO for what they did when they stole, when they put together the phony dossier on him after the 2016 election with Russia, he also dropped the declassification for the murder of JFK. Why do you think they got RFK? RFK being a part of the Republican nominees cabinet, because Trump just won. He brought in RFK. This is retribution for what they did to John F. Kennedy. So in that declassification that took place as Trump was leaving the White House in 2020, he declassed it all. He declassed everything with Epstein. He declassed everything with JFK. He declassed everything with Uranium One. That's the name of the operation, a Crossfire Hurricane that was put together by Barack Obama in the previous administration, and how they were secretly selling not only secrets with Joe Biden and his son, but they were also selling uranium on the black market to our adversaries so that they could kick off a war. This is part of a plan. They planned for Hillary to be in for 8 years, not Trump. Trump was never supposed to win the 2016 election by their standards, because when he did that, he messed up what they call a 16-year plan. It was going to be 8 years of Barack. Barack had pretty much the borders open for the 8 years, bringing in the actual illegals. Then Hillary was going to win, and she was going to win twice in a row, and it would have been 8 years of Hillary. That's a 16-year plan. And at the end of the 16 years, they were going to kick off a war with North Korea and have the United States lose that war. This thing that we're witnessing is way bigger and deeper than what people understand, because they're not looking at the military intelligence and the law on military law and what is really going on with the presidency, and how detrimental what we're watching is to all of our lives, because these people open the border, let all of the illegal immigrants, but they also allow terrorist cells to come into the country so that they can destroy it from the inside and the outside. So they wanted to kick off a war with a foreign country, have all the terrorist cells come into the country, and then attack us inside, and then have a foreign country invade the U.S. from the outside and overthrow the United States Constitution. And this is why Trump brought back the stop and frisk. Because right now we have been compromised as a country. There's various terrorist sleeper cells spread out all over the country right now, waiting to be activated because they left the borders open for 4 years. They flipped Trump's executive orders in 2020 because that's what Joe could do. He was the president. So as the president, he was able to reverse all of Donald Trump's executive orders that he had in place from 2016 on to 2020 that sealed up the U.S. southern border from Mexico. They flipped all of that. The minute Joe Biden got in with Kamala, they went to write an executive order. They reversed all of his policies, and the border been wide open for 4 years. But remember what I was telling you. The plan was initially to have Hillary win in 2016 and win the 2020 election and get a full 8-year term, and she was supposed to have the borders open for the 4 years that Trump closed them. See what I'm telling you? So what I'm showing you is that the 2016 election was never supposed to be won by Trump, but what Trump was able to do with the military was to bypass the popular vote on Hillary and get the electoral college, because I'm going to say a military mutiny took place. Half of the military realized that their former commander-in-chief, Barack Obama, was setting them up to lose a war, so they went to the new person that became commander-in-chief, Trump, to overturn everything that they were doing. That's why they was attacking Trump for 4 years. That's why they were so worried about the classified documents that he took, because they believed that if they could get Trump arrested for taking classified documents, which I told you he didn't steal anything, he was the president, he declassified it. They were just upset because he's not a part of their traditional system that they're running. He declassified things that would expose them, so it makes all the sense in the world that they would go after him and attack him. But this is what's really going on. So now move to 2024. Donald Trump just won the presidential election by the popular vote. The reason he won by the popular vote because in 2020 they was able to see all the ways that they stole the election. And he knew that he had to campaign and get more people to come out and vote so that they wouldn't be able to match the ballots like they did in 2020. He was able to achieve that. Everybody knows Donald Trump pretty much been campaigning for 4 years. He's been holding huge rallies. He was holding them in 2020, but back in 2020, not enough people was woke to what was going on. He needed to let them take the presidency and destroy the economy like they did with the inflation, so that now people can kind of see it. They don't see everything that I'm saying, but they see more that political party is corrupt. The Democrats have destroyed their own political party because of the fact that they want to stay in power. They also brought the LGBTQIA+ into the community with the transgenders, and they started attacking the children. They had people who are lesbian, trans, gay, and bi marching, talking about we're here and we're coming for your children. That's like a movement. So once people started seeing, wait a minute, they're trying to combine this lesbian stuff with children and push it into schools, that's what made people wake up and say, also with the inflation on the economy, we cannot have another 4 years of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in office. So they went out and they voted in droves this time, and they were able to overthrow the cheating system of rigging the election. And I believe they still stole certain states. I believe that if right now there was a recall on the vote and they went to paper ballot with voter ID, Trump will win like 80% of the popular vote, not the close race that they showed, because they were still able to sneak in ballots in certain states, and that's being vetted out now about the House and the Senate, whether or not they're stealing certain seats in the House and the Senate, because right now the whole entire government is supposed to be red. The presidency is red, the Supreme Court is red, the Senate is red, and then they're playing around with the House because they don't want Trump to be able to do what he needs to do as president over the next 4 years. This is treason. This is treason when you're working against a duly elected president to try to overthrow his ability to make the country great again. They don't want the country to be great again. They want the country to thrive economically, and then they want a foreign government to attack the U.S. And if that sounds crazy, this is what they imported in every single country that they went to spread democracy. Go look at the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and all of the wars that were fought previous to Trump that was used under the guise of spreading democracy. And you will see that they use the exact same playbook in those countries with Gaddafi and all of that to try to overthrow our very country that we live in right now. They technically overthrew the United States government in 2020, and they got caught because Trump had all the information. They got all the data. I'm going to tell you how they were able to catch them hacking the election. Trump, when he was president in 2016, he created the first new branch of the military in, I want to say, 30 years. It's called Space Force. He expanded the United States Air Force to include a new agency called Space Force that involves the new threat, which is satellite warfare, Star Wars. So we know that Ronald Reagan with George Lucas back in the 1980s, they set up Star Wars missile defense. They literally named the actual missile defense program after the movie Star Wars. So the continuation of the Star Wars missile defense expanded under Trump when he set up Space Force, which is the military's ability to intercept and track missiles and satellites. So they were able to intercept them in 2020 in the election. They got that. They were able to catch them, in my opinion, using the COVID. They got that. They were able to catch them trying to overthrow Trump in the first 4 years and overthrowing the government in 2020. They got caught with that. Then they came after Trump from 2020 to 24. Everything that they've been doing for the last 4 years, they got clocked by the military doing that. And now we reach 2024 where we see P. Diddy in court. That's tied to Jeffrey Epstein, and that's tied to various senators, House members, Hollywood celebrities. And when this thing goes down, we're going to be in a new world order. So even though right now Trump, it looks good for Trump, he got the House, he got the Supreme Court, he got the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court, and they're trying to vet out whether or not the House is going to have as many votes. They caught them stealing these elections now too. Even though Trump won, all these states are questionable. And they're going to drop and declassify all of this information that I told you that involves JFK murder. It's going to give retribution to RFK. Then it's going to drop what Barack Obama was doing under Crossfire Hurricane with the Five Eyes Law Enforcement Group, Hillary Clinton, Perkins, Cooley, DNC, and everything that they did then. It's even going to charge them for what they did now, because when they took Joe out, that was a crime. See, what people don't realize is Donald Trump and the RNC, or the Republican National Convention, they spent millions upon millions of dollars going against Joe Biden. So when they swapped Kamala out, they breached the federal election laws. Because that's not fair to the Republican candidate to amass all of his donors to go to war with the primary guy who won, which was Joe Biden, and then have them swap out Kamala. They stole the presidency from their own voters. The Democratic Party has 14 million people cast their vote to have Joe Biden be the primary election. They, the DNC, bypassed their voters and put Kamala in. They killed their political party because they were trapped in something that's so deep. And they're going to tear these people up in real time. Now, back to your platform. Everything you're in trouble. Because when you tie this thing into what we see going on with Africa being bottom, and the fact that they ain't talking about being bottom, they're in trouble. The fact that they come to this platform, which I will say is more of a conservative platform, and you did cast your ballot. I heard you say you cast your vote for Donald Trump. Okay? So for really more than 4 years, for about 7, 8, maybe even 9 years, you have been warring with political factions that are in bed with with the Democratic Party and LGBTQIA+. And they have an attack on your conservative platform, shadow ban of you. YouTube is already on notice. The courts is already on notice. The federal government is already on notice. I don't have to say much more than that. But all of these politics is grinding up like dominoes. Now, y'all can run over, because I know that politics as usual is a guy like, let's say, I'm going to call him what I used to call him, the hitman. He might have political ties on both sides of the house. So whether Kamala won or whether Trump won, they have the ability to be ambidextrous and go to either side. All I'm telling you is, if you was down with the D side and you run to the R side now because you got political ties to Trump, we got you. There's no way you're getting out of what y'all did on the internet. I'm not playing. I never was playing. I love for you, brother. It is an atrocity to see what these brothers have done, so-called brothers, because my brother does the will of my father. But I'll call them so-called brothers have done to your platform. All these games and the stuff y'all been playing, we've been over here just letting y'all do what you do. Because we already know the thing that's going to deal with this coming up. So y'all got to get it together. But that's a quick breakdown on the military operation that took place in 2020 when Trump told everybody to go home peacefully. He, as the sitting president at the time, activated the Insurrection Act of 1917. And they put it on the Democratic Party, the FBI, the CIA, the Speaker of the House, the Mayor of D.C., because they declined to have him put the National Guard on the ground so that he could stop all of the violence and the stuff that kicked off. Try to put it on him, falsely accuse him. They raided Mar-a-Lago, which is his place where he lives in Florida, to get the documents back that he declassified. They try to use the news media for 4 years telling the people, oh, he didn't declassify. He has certain cabinet members that have spoken on non-mainstream platforms and said they were there today. He declassified everything. And now includes the documentation that proves Barack Obama, as well as Joe Biden, was selling U.S. trade secrets and U.S. weapon systems to people who on the public side, like Iran, is supposed to be our enemies in North Korea, in order to kick off a war right now. This was supposed to be a 16-year plan. So if Hillary would have won in 2016 and then won again in 2020, the war that we see kicking up in Israel and all that's going on right now, this is a part of their plan. But the plan was to destroy the United States, and Trump is here to stop it and give this country one last chance before these people overrun our borders and destroy us all. Now, I don't agree with everything with Trump, but one thing I agree with is bringing everything back to the Bible and the core constitutional values that set up this country, the Bill of Rights and stuff like that. He's also going to pass what he calls the Digital Bill of Rights. That's going to deal with everything that this Google platform and all of these other democratically charged platforms have been doing to shadow ban and censor conservative, biblical people who believe and are against homosexuality. You have a free speech right to be against that. They try to get violent against the people who are straight and try to enforce this on the people's children. That's where they messed up. They destroyed their political party. Donald Trump didn't do nothing to them. He set the border for them to destroy themselves. Now, let me say, we ain't in the woods. This election hasn't been certified yet. So though he won the popular vote, they still got to certify the election on January 6th of 2025, and they may make some moves to try to stop him. But I'm here to say, I believe God is with Trump, and they're not going to stop him. Nothing that they're going to do is going to work. They already tried to assassinate that man. And the Lord protected him. So that's it, bro. I just felt like we needed to have an open dialogue, and I needed to kind of drop some things on the public, because I see y'all have these discussions, but a lot of people are not really as researched. They don't understand that this is a military sting operation. This is above the CIA, the DOJ, the FBI pay grade, and a lot of those agencies are caught inside of the operation. That includes their informants, that includes their agent provocateurs, and it's tied to treason, it's tied to sedition, and potentially it's tied to using a biological weapon to try to make people sick all over the globe so they can steal the last election. Now, when you tie that all together, to the informants and the FBI and all of that, the stuff that goes on YouTube, they don't realize that the things that they're participating in is part of treason and sedition because it involves foreign actors and it involves the military. This is not a normal 4-year election. Neither was the last 4 years. This is an election that involves taking back the country from what they call the deep state or the administrative state or the Democratic Party who has had their grips on power since the 1960s, using the civil rights movement to activate the blacks and make them believe that they for them when the whole time they were placing them with Africans and everything else under the sun, and then even gained the LGBTQIA plus rights before they got down to the civil rights that they've been so-called rallying for the last 60 years. Get out of here. We have a right to a republic. I'm going to say this and then I'll let you go. If you look at the U.S. Constitution, nowhere is the word democracy in the U.S. Constitution. The word democracy appears nowhere in the United States Constitution, but you know what does? Republic. The people have a right to a republic. Now, they are allowed to create the Democratic Party for certain reasons, but the Democratic Party is not something that is guaranteed by the Constitution to the citizens of this country, a Republican. That's what they don't want the black people to know. That's why they're trying to paint all of these false narratives on Donald Trump. Donald Trump was loved by the people prior to him running for the White House. He was at all of the political parties in the shindigs. I don't know about Diddy. I don't know about Epstein. But I know that in the 80s and the 90s coming up, everybody loved Trump. When he was on the Clinton, he even, I think Hillary Clinton was at his wedding. Oprah, all of these people loved Donald Trump. Why they hate him now? Because he's getting ready to expose the deep state's entire system, which involves the rituals, the sex orgies, which involve children, probably animals, and a whole bunch of other things that they don't take now. And it's going to gut the government because when they drop this declassification and it shows which political operatives is in the House and the Senate, we're going to see more people have to step down. More people get voted out, and more of what they call patriots put into the government to do the will of the people, not put in financial gains like we've been witnessing for the last 50, 70 years. These cycles of the Republicans and the Democrats where the people don't get taken care of, foreigners get taken care of, and they're lining their own pockets, and then they created a system where if you want to be successful, you got to go to some mansion and have sex with a child or do something that they can record on video. This is a part of their system. You know how many talented people were pushed to the side because they didn't partake in those rituals? They were better than the, I'm gonna keep it real, better than the Jay-Z's, better than the Smooth, but because they were either a threat, because they wasn't down with it, they got lined up, kind of like they were trying to line you up. You know how many brothers is in prison because they got set up? Well, really, it was because they were talented and they wasn't going to play around in their system, and they were better than these guys. So that's it, bro. At the end of the day, y'all correct out there. Y'all in a lot of trouble. And I'm happy about it because we was in a lot of trouble for a long time. They put us under so much pressure over here and so much shit. Now they quiet the church now. Talk about Donald Trump. Talk about that LGBTQIA+. Talk about how the hitman is still on his internet and how he's been talking about how he was molested as a child and photos was given and all of this stuff and all of this racketeering y'all been doing, using the court system, misusing the United States jurisprudence system. Notice how we didn't launch no court cases on nobody and we didn't make no fake charges up to get nobody lined up because we know how to use the American justice system over here. We just let y'all use it so you can put yourself deeper in the hole that you've been in since you came. Y'all was wrong then, you're wrong now. We're on the right side of history, y'all on the wrong side of history. Now, the ones of y'all that can come to the right side, this is the message you better repent in this home. The ones that did too much, get wet. That's it, bro. You got something you want to say?
No. I'm just over here.
But that's it. Or your We set the board up right. Because we was right from the beginning. We didn't do all of that extraterrestrial shit and come up with narratives. We just gonna come with truth. That's how we gonna win this. So everybody listening, you better get with the right team. I don't care what it looks like for Israel Doctor's platform. I'm calling victory now. I'm declaring victory in the name of the Most High, the Lord God of Israel. It's with my brother. Yeah, he had a stroke, but the stroke didn't take him, and he's bouncing back. Yeah,
I'm gonna say this one thing. I'm gonna say this one thing. Like Donald Trump, we have been peaceful, and y'all tried to provoke us to violence, but we are a peaceful group. We moving in peace.
Yes, following this back when we was heavy in the what happened to the boy movement. If y'all don't like what we were saying, you could have told us out. But once you reached out past this internet and you tried to make up false charges to get people lined up, you reached out and touched it. You took the wordplay and the disagreement on certain things about damn and all of that, and you turned it into something else. And we was warning you before you did that not to do it. Then you went and did it, and then you put your chest out like, man, we did that. We was warning you that was the wrong thing to do, and guess what's coming now? Everything we told you. Because this platform is a forecasting platform. We don't broadcast, we forecast. We're dealing with eschatology and Bible end-time prophecy. No strike to the full preterists, but I'm a partial preterist like Carl. Certain things have been fulfilled, but not all things. We'll do a show on that in the near future. I got a million things I can show you that ain't been fulfilled, just like he got some things. And when we put it together, that stuff is getting put to bed. All things have not been fulfilled. We still in the earth. I just told y'all a whole breakdown of the politics for the last 8 years with all of this wickedness, and then you got a whole faction of people believing all Bible prophecies been fulfilled when that Bible has key things, literal and figurative, that says the lion lays down with the lamb when all of this is set up. Right now, we got the animals in the forest attacking each other. This earth is getting ready to actually move towards World War III. It don't make no sense if you're a full preterist and you read that Revelation and use Daniel to unlock that Revelation's prophecy when you look at that actual statue with Nebuchadnezzar down to them 10 toes. And you know proper history. And you understand the beast of Revelations with the 7 heads and 10 horns and how it's going to keep rising up. And then you understand what Rome is in the world today. And you see how all of this is culminating to a grand finale war with nuclear and all kind of unconventional weapons that we don't even know that some of these countries have made, where all human existence may cease to exist on the planet Earth if Jesus Christ doesn't return and intervene. The Bible has a verse that says no flesh will be saved alive if Jesus doesn't return.
They think they can do that with bow and arrows. They think they could do that with bow and arrows. Can't nobody take all flesh off the earth with bow and arrows. We need something.
No, that's nuclear weapons. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. One can argue that was what kicked off the end time, because now the actual weaponry has been made that can erase all human life on Earth if a nuclear winter goes down.
Yes.
That starts to align that Bible prophecy.
These people are Europeans, and they act like the Europeans haven't taught them, or they're not intelligent enough to know that a nuclear bomb is the greatest weapon ever. You never had a weapon like that before. How you think that there's a time like dropping one of them before you got one? Come on, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then not to mention the fact that when you look at what's going on now, the wickedness in the earth, ain't no way Jesus came here and fixed this yet. He's letting man carry out that 6,000 years like he told him. Then he's going to give us a 1,000 years. I ain't gonna go too far. We spoke about the 8th day. That's something we can build on later. But at least 7,000 years, and the 6,000 was given a man to do his own will. Whatever you want to do, even living in a time when people have the free will to accept the LGBTQ and all of this stuff we seeing. God ain't truly dealt with this stuff yet. He's dealing with it with people like Trump and people like us and a lot of other what I call patriots that have been fighting against this. But Jesus is the one that's going to fix this whole situation. So So at the end of the day, bro, that was my class course. There's a lot more to talk about, but I just want to run it back so people can go look at the John Durham DUHAM report to get all of the information that was dropped in the federal courts about Igor Danchenko, the fake dossier that was put together by Hillary Clinton and the law firm Perkins Coie, and what was released to the American public in 2022 as it relates to the 2016 to 2020 election. And then everybody get ready for Donald Trump and RFK and his new cabinet to declassify the documents that's going to show that Barack Obama set up the operation called Crossfire Hurricane, which involved them selling uranium on the black market to people who they have us believing is our enemies, so that they can kick off a war. Right now, at the end of this term of Biden, was supposed to be the end of Hillary's term. They were going to bring us into a war with North Korea and have them lose the war. Trump bypassed that when he walked across the DNC, which is the North Korean border to the South Korean border, and shook hands with Kim Jong-un. They were mad because they had a plan to use Kim Jong-un as a proxy to make a war with North Korea, and Trump saw it when he got in the White House and was able to see all the classification through security clearances that he obtained when he got elected as the dual president in 2016, and then he figured out how him and his people could reverse all of that, make peace with North Korea, make peace with Vladimir Putin, because I'm going to say this about Vladimir Putin. I don't 100% agree with Russia, but what people don't know about history is Russia was a U.S. ally to take out the Nazis. So when they mad at him being allies with Putin, that goes against history in the sense that we once were allies with Russia. If you know anything about World War II, when the U.S. won World War II with Britain and all of that, the Russians who took over East Germany, that's why they had the war, and the U.S. took over West Germany, and we were allies with Russia. We became enemies with Russia under Gorbachev and all of that in the Cold War, but Trump understands the history, so he was like, no way am I going to let y'all use Russia to take us into a nuclear war when Vladimir Putin got nukes. Do you people understand that Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin and these people that Trump is trying to make peace with got nuclear weapons to wipe out everything in this country? Do y'all understand? We're looking at this so right? You don't realize how they light you up like Sodom and Gomorrah to get hit with fire.
Enough said.
They don't even agree with homosexuality. Certain countries in Africa, I see dudes talking about Africa. I think your lady, no disrespect, is from Uganda. Uganda don't mess with that homosexuality. There's been a pushback in various African and Islamic countries that if you bring that homosexuality over here, we nuke it, y'all.
Enough said. Say no more, bro. I'm gonna play this song.
That's it, man.
Obama number.
You know, like I said, preserve your peace, stay peaceful. Let these people do what they do, because they're gonna do it to themselves. They've been doing it to themselves. You don't got to do that. Let them keep doing what they do. That's it, man.
Obama numbers. Peace, bro.
You already know the motto. Rich niggas fly out. Wealthy niggas fly out. And no kid, you broke ass niggas. Hey, you walk out. Boss that dog kid. Oh yeah, we'll be a part to the babies.
In the 80s and 90s, niggas was getting money. Bricks was 20. Shorties running around with the missiles on straight dummy. Them legs on them chickens was spreading like chin rummy. Dealing with a bad hand, but we dealt with it like a man. Got our fingernails dirty, we dealing it hand to hand. Never laid it to heart that the government had a plan. Shit, they let us on the plane with just Vaseline and Saran. So we assembled our 18s, hopping out of them vans. 5.0s and typhoons, the ghetto tycoons. Car booties got moist when them engines with prone. To blame it on Ronald Reagan, he let all the cocaine in. Papa Bush was the head of the CIA then. One of his chemists made a mixture called crack. It attaches to melanin, so it's worse if you're black. Nancy Reagan waged the war on drugs. Translation in the ghetto, it's a war on us. Back then it was recognized. For the block, 36 months for a $5 rock. Mama's rent is 900, but it's 20 for my chain. The more things change, the more that they stay the same. It's Obamanomics. It's Obamanomics. Small. It's Obamanomics. Fast forward to 2012, we still in hell. OGs is dead, just coming home, or still in jail. It's like they coming to a new world, the aftermath of crack. A rapper owns a team, the president is black. Yet still, most of us in the trap. The game's evolving, but most of us can't adapt. Back in 90, our troops invaded Iraq. 2012, Obama just brought them back. Back then, you was killing them in the lat. Now they act like you can't stun if it's under 100 racks. Weeds got no steeds. Dro is the new hustle. It's a million CEOs. Every rapper is Russell. We eat McDonald's, wash it down with our Coca-Cola. Hopes of being rich, we do the lotto at the local store. You really ballin' or you really poor? Eating off the floor. We call this Obama money. 2 for the block. 36 months for a $5 rock. Mama's rent is 900, but it's 20 for my chain. The more things change, the more that they stay the same. It's Obamanomics. It's Obamanomics. Small. It's Obamanomics.
All right, y'all.